everyone, today I'll be doing a solo flawless on the Harbinger with the Cryosthesia with Warlock. For my subclass, I'll be using the SHADEBINDER Warlock. Here are the mods I'll be using for this video. For the exotic, I'll be using the Cryosthesia 77k with the Catalyst. Next, I'll be using the arc bow, of course with the solar and the void legendary weapons. Next, I'll be using the threaded needle. For my exotic, I'll be using the stag with 10 recovery, sidearm ammo finder, dynamo with shield break charge. For the gauntlets, I'll be using the unstoppable sidearm loader, charger with 10 discipline. For the chest armor, I'll be using the void damage resistance, sniper damage resistance with 10 discipline and high energy fire. For the legs, I'll be using supercharge, sidearm scavenger, 10 discipline, any mod where I can get my grenade cooldown each time I pick up an orb. Lastly, I'll be using bomber, taken charge, 10 discipline with Sunderling blast. Cryosthesia sidearm with the catalyst, where we can get the cold efficiency where shadowing a frozen target refills this weapon's magazine from reserves. In this video, I wanted to show off a little bit more of the catalyst, since when I did the master run, I didn't do the catalyst at all, and I wanted to just not bother myself getting it, since I said it wouldn't really matter so much if using a non-stasis subclass. Now I decided to go for the stasis warlock because this exotic forces you to be a stasis subclass for the catalyst to be efficient, quote unquote, since it did say that over here in the perks. So many things I can say about this weapon, and I still think this weapon is horrendous for this season. Now, I wanted to test out this weapon, especially for this week, where there's infinite waves of scions and 2 tanky bosses where they like to spam blights a lot. And this is gonna take a while, especially using the Cryosthesia, which is supposed to be a DPS weapon, where you most likely will have to switch to a grenade launcher or a rocket. And over here, I'll be using the most famous linear fusion rifle with Vopal weapon. Now, as you guys know, there are 3 emissaries, and you can see I threw my nade there, and we're going to use the power of the linear fusion rifle. It is more powerful than Cryosthesia. Wouldn't you believe that? And I'll be using 3 of the bow elements of solar, arc, and void. So previous seasons there was no void bow. Let's just be honest with that, when they sunset the weapons. And now we have a void legendary bow, which you can use to snipe, well, to take down the taken vandals or the snipers. Now, you can use a sniper if you don't like using bows. I was thinking of using a sniper, but I love bows so much, so I just want to go for bows. Usually for Harbinger videos, I really like using bows. Now, I was dealing with the void mini boss. You only can do amount of half health, and it'll disappear to a specific room. Now, I'm going to be using the linear fusion rifle because the range for the Cryosthesia is really bad. And I'll be using it quite a lot at the boss fight and at the mini waves of ads, stadium, etc. the room. But in this part, especially over here, there's a lot of long range dealing with the mini bosses and the snipers, so I can't really use Cryosthesia because the range is so poor. Even with the catalyst, doesn't really make a difference even when you have the catalyst. last season I remember I did go for the Void Wizard, but the most difficult, annoying mini boss would be the Arc. So I want to first take down the Arc mini boss, then Void, then Solar. So that will be my mini boss of waves of ads for the next part. Since this Arc boss, right, it's gonna give me a hard time at the next mini waves of ads room where there are a couple of snipers and of course one champion as well, which I don't want that to happen. I would prefer for the Void wave instead of the Arc wave to deal with that. So we kill one emissary and now I'll be dealing with the Void boss. And of course we'll be going for the Solar later since it's far away and I don't want to waste time. So at this part, of course, I am just shooting the couple of ads or scions that are very, very annoying. They can shoot you from behind, especially if I'm standing here but I didn't shoot them. And they can melt you pretty quickly, which can be a wipe. Now, this wizard can melt you, so I always just use my super. Any super, chaos rage, etc. But if you're using Cryosthesia with Catalyst, I would recommend to use Stasis subclass. And to be honest, I wouldn't really recommend using this weapon at all. This weapon is not really good at all. It makes Salvation's Grip a better weapon than Cryosthesia. Now I am just using this weapon just to show you how bad this weapon is, especially at the boss fight. Like, wow, that's gonna be so much fun. You'll see how powerful, quote unquote, how amazing this weapon is, because I don't really find this weapon amazing at all. I think it's probably the worst exotics I ever used for this season, and I honestly had more fun with the Salvation's Grip than the Cryosthesia with Catalyst. Salvation's Grip doesn't have Catalyst yet, but I had more fun using that weapon than this. Now, Salvation's Grip is not supposed to be a DPS weapon, but you can make it into a DPS weapon by switching to a grenade launcher or switching to a DPS weapon. You have to do mostly the same thing with the Cryosthesia, except this weapon is supposed to be a DPS weapon. Now, another thing I'd like to mention is I have to use high energy fire for this loadout. I did try to use surprise attacks. I know someone's gonna comment and say, you should use surprise attack, Blitz. Well, the problem is the boss fight. It's not really gonna work out with the surprise attack mod for the sidearm. Because let me just say that when you do the charge up stasis freeze, the liquid cooling, it still doesn't take down the ads even though you freeze them with the surprise attack mod perk. Yeah, I'm not even joking. So basically the surprise attack sidearm is really good for the devil's throw-in than Cryosthesia. So if you're thinking that the charge for the liquid cooling is gonna be one-shot red ads, then you're gonna be disappointed because it doesn't really do anything. And you're probably wondering why I'm not using the liquid cooling charge. Well, even with the catalyst, you have to reload your weapon, as you can see here, or you have to switch to your linear or rocket or grenade launcher, right, to do DPS, and then you can refill your magazine of your Cryosthesia. Yeah, if you guys thought the catalyst was going to refill your magazine when freezing a red ad or mini boss with the catalyst, then you're going to be very angry because it doesn't work that way for this exotic. And yeah, basically we are killing the 3 emissaries, and I do apologize, but I want to talk more about the Cryosthesia because I just feel like I wasted 4 hours of my life getting the catalyst. And I was gonna upload a video of Cryosthesia last week's boss, but it felt too easy for me, so I decided to go for the most tanky boss for this week, just to show you how bad this weapon is. And yes, I did say this weapon is bad. I don't enjoy using this weapon. This weapon is not fun. I did try to use Titan, by the way. Didn't work out. I mean, it was working good. Then the boss fight, yeah, it didn't work out. Then I tried the Hunter build. The Tornado didn't want to go to the mini bosses. Now over here, as you can see here, we kill Arc, Void, and Solar. So for the first waves, we're going to have snipers and 2 Arc mini bosses, which you can easily take them down with a bow. Linear, one shot, done. Always take down the 2 mini bosses, that way the waves of infinite ads will stop, or the Scion ads will stop. I'm switching to avoid bow because the next waves of ads will spawn the second wave, and we're gonna have 2 wizards spawning with the gold bar health. Now, first things first, I have to take down the snipers. I couldn't use the Cryosthesia because, you know, the range for the sidearm is poor. It's awful. It feels awkward. The only thing I like about the Cryosthesia is the sound effect. If you are close range with the Stasia, then it's powerful. But since there are snipers from far away distance, then the sidearm is kinda useless. And yeah, I'm being a little blunt here, but I'm just being super honest. Like, even on PS5, the sidearm, the range is very bad. So, second wave of ads, and it'll be the Void Wizards. With the Unstoppable Champion, and why, my gosh. I was really this close to switch to Breach and Clear, but I decided to go for the Suddenly Blast. I should show you the DPS of the Cryosthesia, since mainly this video is about Cryosthesia. Now you can see here that I'm trying to use the sidearm, you know, taking my sweet time, just to make sure this boss doesn't push me off the map or to a wall. You have to be very cautious with this Unstoppable Champion, because you can see that it almost melee attacked me, will try to push me to the wall, and it wouldn't be a good idea, especially for this part. I mean, of course you won't die in this video, well, from the melee attack, but it will put you on red health. So I'll be switching to a solar bow, or it could be a solar scout rifle if you don't have the raid bow from Last Wish. And if you guys are wondering how I got it, it was just me farming the chests on all 3 characters, basically. So this is going to be the last wave of ads, 2 Unstoppable Champions with 2 mini bosses of solar. Now here, I decided to use my super just to take down 1 mini boss so I can deal with the 2 Unstoppable Champions with the Cryosthesia. Yes, I'm going to be trying my best using Cryosthesia throughout this video, but of course at this part I do need to use the linear fusion rifle just to get rid of the infinite waves of scions or thralls, because if you don't take down these 2 mini bosses right away, not the champions, then you're gonna have infinite waves of ads and it's not gonna be fun. Trust me, it's not fun. Tried it before, test it out. Not a fun method to not kill the 2 solar mini bosses. So now over here, I'm going to use the Cryosthesia. Yes, this amazing quote-unquote sidearm. You can see if you're really close, it does okay amount of damage. Then I had to run away because I didn't want this boss to push me. Then I used the finisher. And next I have to deal with a different champion, if I remember. I'm trying to remember because I did many runs in this video. I was farming a cleaner run because I was having some trouble using this sidearm, especially at the boss fight. So I had to like farm over and over to make it, you know, make it clean as possible. And now over here, this is the last Unstoppable Champion. So you can see here, I have to fight with this Unstoppable Champion with the sidearm. He was going too close to me, so I repositioned, moved, didn't work out, went back and forth, merry-go-round, remember Festering Core? Remember you had to go merry-go-round with 2 Unstoppable Champions? Well, guess what? Guess what, guys? I'm doing the same thing, just like Festering Core Nightfall. We're going back and forth, try to deal with this Unstoppable Champion. I'm using Thundering Blast, and it's an artifact for this season, by the way. I have to use Southern Blast to make this sidearm do, you know, decent amount of DPS. So imagine if I wasn't using Breaching Clear or a sidearm. Then what? That means I have to switch to my linear fusion rifle or a different DPS weapon or a sniper. You know, I'm not using a sniper in this video since I am using the artifact mods. But you can see, like, without any artifact mod with this sidearm, then this sidearm is just bad. It's already bad as it is. It makes Devil's Ruin powerful than this sidearm, and it makes the Salvation Script a very powerful exotic stasis weapon over this one. Now we're gonna be almost to the boss fight, which I always do in all my Harbinger videos. You must take down what you can if you want to. And once you take him down, then you can just safely proceed and take your time to pass these blight walls. Now these blight walls do push you off, so I'll just be very careful with them. We don't want a death to ruin the solo flawless, especially if you are going for the trap. So now I'm going to turn on the right side, go through this cave. Of course there are other jumping shortcuts, but we're just going to go the, I would say, the original path. So you can just use the Warlock jump and jump over here. Wait for the blight to do his animation. And because I was 0 on linear fusion rifle, I actually did have to clear down a couple ads over here. So if my heavy was full or around 15 ammo, then I probably would skip this part. But because I had 0 linear fusion rifle, right? And I do need that weapon to DPS the bosses, I actually had to stay here and bow away to clear down a couple of ads and pray for heavy bricks so I can make my life easier with the bosses. And yeah, can I use the Cryosthesia? And then I decided to, maybe I'll try to use it again, but it's a bit dangerous because we have a Cabal where it can push you off the map, well, off the edge, as you can see there. It almost did. But thank you, mini turret saved my life here. I mean, if you guys thought the Cryosthesia saved me, no, it did not. It was the turret. Alright, so I did found a couple of bricks. And I was happy with the ammo. Around 18 is good enough for me. Now I'll be dealing with Shadow Thralls, and there is a wizard up ahead. I'm gonna wait till I take down the Shadow Thralls, which we have seen them quite a lot on the Whisper the Worm, which it got sunset, as you guys know, sadly. Now there is a wizard here you can take down with the Will of the Horde or any other exotics. I wouldn't really recommend using this weapon. And you saw there, I actually thought it was something there, but it was just a blight wall. Now there are 2 snipers, and sometimes one of the snipers falls off the edge. Sometimes. I mean, it's very rare, but if it happens to you, then, you know, that's very lucky of you. So now I cannot use the sidearm at the moment since these snipers are far away, and we're gonna have another unstoppable champion from the left side with a taken Cabal on the left side as well. So I went over here, and then now we can deal with the last unstoppable champion. So now I can use the sidearm, and I decided to just do amount of DPS. And it was just taking a bit too long for me, so of course I had to switch to an arc weapon since the shields for the boss, there's 2 tanky bosses. And they have an arc shield, and we highly recommend to have any arc primary weapon or anarchy to deal and of course break the shield for the boss. So to go for the linear fusion does around 42k, which is pretty good. And now we can actually do some DPS with the boss. Now this boss fight is different, probably the most frustrating boss fight for Harbinger. There are 3 mini bosses, every week is different as you guys know, and this is probably the most hardest boss since there are too many bosses and they're both tanky. But first things first, I have to melt down, do as much DPS as I can to deal with this boss. I want this boss to teleport in the middle so I can deal with the other mini boss from the left side. So you can see here that I push him off the edge and he's gonna teleport, which I'm not really surprised here. So when he does get pushed up off the map, you can just wait a bit until his health about half, and you can push towards him and do more DPS because he'll stop teleporting at this little specific spot as you can see here. And then once you do that, I was just scouting, seeing if he's gonna teleport. So he stopped teleporting after 1 bar. So now I'm just spamming linear fusion as you can see here, and I'm gonna be using my super. So yeah, over here, this part is always best to melt as much DPS to this boss because we want this boss to teleport in the middle. That way you won't have a hard time dealing with him with the other mini boss, shooting blight, tracking to death. So when I'm talking about these blights, right, you will see very soon what I'm talking about of these blights. And these are the blights, tracking of death. Oh yes, I like giving them nicknames. And the reason why I call them death, because sometimes you're not focused on them, you're focused on ads, you're focused on DPS in the boss, and then you're on red health. Then this blight just shoots you, your whole red health bar. Then you have to start all over again, which is not fun to do. Over here, I want to do as much DPS as I can. I cannot use the Cryosthesia at this range since it's very, very useless. And you can see both mini bosses are teaming up on me and it's not fun. It's not a really good, I mean, for this area where I'm standing now, it's an okay area. It's good for the Warlock, but for the Hunter, the Titan would be okay. But for the Hunter, I don't know. I mean, for the Stasis Hunter, a big, dangerous. Now we did amount of DPS. I have to go back and do more DPS at the mini boss because I want to make sure his health is low so I can make the boss just be far away from the map. That way he can ignore me while I can deal with the second mini boss. So there are infinite waves of ads and infinite waves of snipers. Now I'm trying to do a skip method where I leave one mini boss alive with tiny health. That way I won't have the aggressive ads, scions spawning every time I kill them, and the snipers. So you can have infinite waves of ads, but it will go slow. It won't go like you kill the sniper and then it spawns back. You kill the scions and they spawn back. We don't want that to happen in this video, so we're going for the method where we're going to skip the aggressive waves of ad spawns by leaving one ad alive with tiny health, which is this boss by the way. This one, the one from the far right side, not the left one. So once you do amount of DPS, has tiny health, you leave him alone. That's it. You go back. Then you deal with the next mini boss. The next mini boss is on the left side. And the one thing I should have done here, I should have just cleared the snipers and then just pushed towards the mini boss. I didn't do it in this method. I was thinking about it and then I was like, nah, it's okay. I'll just spam grenades. Hopefully the turret will do some DPS at the boss. Now I was on red health, and just to let everyone know, I'm using higher energy fire, around 20% damage. So even with higher energy fire with the stasis, it's still not really good. So now I'm gonna use the stasis to clear down a couple of ads, the scions, well, the thralls. And then I'm just looking over here from the right side to take down the snipers. So everything looks pretty good, and I probably did the method where I said that you can do so. What you can do here is once you have your super, you can just push and then just use your super. Now, it was just a bit dangerous here because there were snipers behind me, so I backed away. And the mini boss from all the way from the back was shooting me, which was not a good sign at all. So I had to pull back and then try the bow method where I just spam the arc bow, try to do as much DPS as I can, because around one bar if I remember, it'll make the boss spawn to the middle of the map, which is what we want him to do. We want the mini boss to spawn in the middle of the map so it'll be easier to do DPS instead of this range. Instead of the boss going behind a rock, hiding, frustrating all of us, making us waste a couple of minutes of our lives. And we want to make this mini boss mission easy. Well, final boss easy, you know. Now there are a couple infinite waves of thralls, which, like I said, they spawn infinitely, but pretty slow. It's not aggressive, as you guys know. When you kill a scion, or let's just say a sniper, thralls, then they spawn again, over and over and over again. I did show example with the exotic arc bow, the Trinity Gold, if I remember. And I was showing you guys of how aggressive the ads are when you kill the first mini boss and not do any DPS at the second mini boss, and it's not fun. Let me just say that. First things first, I just scout for the snipers, try to take them down. Once I take down the snipers, then I can go close by and do DPS. So you can see there is another sniper that spawned. Just scouting once again. This mini boss is very annoying. Likes to shoot a lot of void, so be very cautious with that. I'm gonna pop a healing rift. So now I'm just shooting with the Cryosthesia, and then there was a sniper that spawned, which was not good for me, so I had to go and use the bow to take him down quickly, because I did not want this sniper to destroy me. I was on red health because I was paying attention of the sniper than the boss, so I had to pull back, which was very annoying to do. Then I had to go back to this rock, throw a turret, stasis, pop a healing rip, and then try again. So now I'm just gonna use the bow, and then if I do have any linear fusion rifle, I'm gonna do DPS on it. So I was later on trying to use the Cryosthesia, but the boss kept teleporting left and right, front to the side. It was very ridiculous. Even using fusion rifle, it still teleports left and right. I was really getting a bit annoyed, especially using the sidearm stasis, where I'm trying to use it, but this boss keeps shooting me and making the screen all earthquakey, etc. I was a bit annoyed because I'm trying to use the sidearm, but this boss doesn't want me to use it so much. Like, you can see how bad the sidearm is. You can't really do anything with it, especially at this boss fight. And it's not really surprising. I mean, think about it. This weapon wasn't even good at a master nightfall. If this weapon is not good for a master nightfall, then it wouldn't really be good for secret missions like Presage or Harbinger. Even Expunge. This weapon would be really bad for an Expunge mission. Even an override. Like, would I recommend using this weapon for a solo override mission? No, I wouldn't recommend it at all. This weapon would take forever. So the boss decided to just stand still, which is I want him to do. And I was trying to use stasis. You can see it. Without critical headshot, it does around over 1100 damage with the sidearm. And just to let everyone know, I'm using higher energy fire, so you can see the range for this Cryosthesia is so bad, it's ridiculous. And now I have to use a bow because I was trying to use the sidearm, but the amount of DPS on mid-range, this is mid-range by the way, I still can't do a lot of DPS with the weapon, and it is ridiculous. And because I had to spam my heavy, spam my bow, now I have no bow, no heavy, and only have the sidearm. It was just so ridiculous. Now I only can use a couple of bow shots and then switch to Cryosthesia. And you can see critical headshot with higher energy fire is around 2k. Well, actually no, my mistake. I think it's more than 2k, I'm trying to remember. But you can see like I'm not shooting the boss on critical headshots, and it does like around 1600. And of course the stasis turret is helping me as well, so imagine if the turret wasn't helping me at all and me just using stasis sidearm. It would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? It would take way too long to do DPS with this weapon. So now I'm trying to waste my ammo, trying to see if I can do some DPS, well, shoot randomly, because I need to run out of ammo so I can get some bow. I ran out of arc bow, so I had to wait and of course waste all my stasis ammo. So once I waste all my ammo, I saw I finally got some ammo from Bungie. And I had to pull back because it was getting out of control with the thralls, with the blight tracking, following me, trying to mess up my solo flawless run with this really bad exotic. And like I said guys, I did try Hunter Titan, didn't work out because the boss was just too tanky. And I needed something to heal myself over and over just to deal with this boss fight. So ridiculous. So there are a couple of snipers which I want to take down before killing the 2 mini bosses. But yeah, this boss can be a bit annoying. You can see it likes to shoot void at me quite a lot with the blight tracking, shooting me as well. So you have to be super careful with this boss. It starts to get very aggressive once his health starts to get really low. So now I can finally use Cryosthesia. I was trying to use it, like I said, look, it just teleports. Finally took him down, reload my weapon. Then I tried again, but I ran out of ammo. So I ran out of ammo and then had to use my super just to take him down. It was ridiculous. So finally killed the mini boss and we finally beat the Harbinger. So thank you so much for watching, and like I said, I wouldn't recommend using Cryosthesia, especially for this season. This weapon is bad. You have to be a stasis subclass or the catalyst is pretty much useless. It wouldn't really be efficient at all unless you want to switch your weapon and then you refill your magazine. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.